Good evening, good afternoon. Thank you everyone for joining the next PadSplit Pulse co-living operations. And for today's PadSplit Pulse episode, we are very fortunate and grateful to have David Edwards. And David Edwards is the founder of Co-Living Operations. He's a leading expert in high performance co-living property management, and he's the founder, as mentioned, of also Better Homes. He oversees a portfolio of over 45 homes, totaling 343 total rooms and generating more than $2 million in gross rents. Dave's expertise has definitely been validated just by his outstanding, record, including over 97% tenant satisfaction rating on PadSplit, and he just continues to, break industry average standards, and is, really fortunate to be able to have him here tonight. I know Dave was working on getting set up from his end, so he'll be joining us here shortly. But those of you who are hopping on, thank you so much for joining in on this episode of the PadSplit Pulse. We do have the chat live, so if you have any questions related to the content that we're sharing, please feel free to drop it in there. And also be sure to stick around for the Q&A. The Q&A is definitely where we see just simply the greatest amount of value that is shared amongst this community here. Whether you're a new host, an existing host, or first time ever hearing about PadSplit, I think there's definitely going to be some key nuggets and takeaways that you'll be able to gain from today's webinar. And this meeting is being recorded. So for those of you who may not be able to stick around and be able to enjoy the entire webinar here, we will be sending out a recording tomorrow. And yes, Paul, I completely agree. David is the man. He runs a Facebook group, Co-Living Operations, and certainly someone that we are, just so grateful to be able to have here today. So let's go ahead and just kind of jump right into it. As far as our schedule goes, we're going to be talking about affordable housing market update here, some updates that are happening at PadSplit. I'm going to be sharing some valuable data and things that are happening here at the PadSplit. And then we're going to pass it off to Dave. He's got some content and some great best practices and things that he's going to be sharing related to what he's learned over his journey with co-living operations. So thank you, Juliana, for joining. I know you're in the Charlotte area. Go ahead in the chat. Go ahead and drop in which city you're tuning in from. We'd love to see where everybody is located. And yes, I'll go ahead and share the co-living operations Facebook chat. All right, Tampa, Los Angeles, Dallas, Houston. Oh man, this is awesome to see. Love it, Nashville. Dave, do we have you on?
You do. You hear me
All
okay?
right, man. I was kind of killing some time here, hoping you'd get all set up. So, man, thank you for swinging in through, and hope you're all set up there on your end.
All set.
Well, I did give a very brief intro, but I guess before I jump into what I have to share here on my section, would love to pass it off to you just for a very quick introduction for those who don't know you.
Yeah. Hi. So I think I just had my assistant add a slide on this, but I'm Dave Edwards. I've been the longest serving PadSplit co-host outside of Atlanta for the last 4.5 years. So they came into Houston in 2021, and I was the first one. So heard about them coming in, got excited because I just got out of a real bad single family rental. So got into it, been active here, started up a property management company where we have managed 50 properties, just about 400 rooms during that time, during the last couple of years here. And it's been going pretty well. So
Awesome.
was asked here to come on in and give a little talk about how we manage properties, what our newest offering is to help people manage now nationwide, having proven out our SOPs and built our teams and processes here.
Grateful to have you, David. And for those of you who are keeping an eye on the chat, I did also drop a link to his Facebook group that he has. I can tell you as personally someone who's a member, I have gained so much value. And I think one of the things that many people appreciate about you, David, is that you're not a gatekeeper. Everything that you've learned through your extensive journey, you do share. People know how much you love couches in pad splits. Just
Oh
kidding.
yeah,
You know you
they're the
don't.
best.
But I could tell you, man, I mean, just the guides, the little graphics, tons of value. So definitely if you're someone who's not a member, I would recommend joining. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. Just a quick disclaimer, guys, this event is really for educational purposes only. It's not financial, legal, or investment advice. Please consult with your own professionals before making decisions. And the speaker's opinions are their own. Investing in real estate obviously carries risks, and nothing here guarantees future results. you're responsible for your own financial choices. So now that we've made the lawyers happy, just a quick intro about myself. My name is Emmanuel Pomate, but I go by E. I've been with PadSplit now for 2.5 years. I started in May of 2023. And I've been in the whole real estate investing industry for about 5 years now, having started with short-term rentals. In my role here as a host advisor, my goal is to help educate and guide those who are interested in learning more about PadSplit, from sharing data to resources. I see several names here in the attendee list of clients who have had the fortunate opportunity to be able to work with, but I also now have met actually my now wife at a PadSplit event that I hosted last year in January. So yeah, just a little bit quick information about me. If you're someone who's interested in connecting with me directly, go ahead and drop my email in the chat here. Happy to help. So, quick update on the average rent in the United States. So, as of November, and according to apartments.com, we have 1631 per month average rent in the United States. Now, a lot of these traditional rentals require 3 times the income simply to just even qualify, just to get your foot in the door. And so, based on this requirement, we're seeing that renters need to show that they're making at least around $28 to qualify for an average rental in the United States. Now, of course, this is the average, and this does fluctuate by location and where you are in the US. But this map is something that our team put together to just kind of highlight the challenges and the barriers to, especially those low-income earners, to be able to qualify for what used to be entry-level housing, right? A one-bedroom now really is, it's outside of reach for so many working-class residents, especially in states like Florida and California and Texas and Georgia as well. And there's probably a lot of clients here that are on this webinar right now that have had some form of experience, maybe in traditional rentals, right? Single family rentals is usually kind of a good starting point for most buy and hold investors. But I came across this graph when I was kind of scrolling through LinkedIn, and I found it to be pretty powerful because it really shows how the juice is really no longer worth the squeeze when it comes to traditional single family rentals. Now, of course, there's been a lot of economic factors that have happened over the last 6 7 decades since really the growth of single family rentals. But I think it's also important to understand that these compressed yields that we're seeing on single family rentals are more than just some of the economics factors that we're seeing. There's also a socioeconomic factor that has been a trend really since the 60s, when we saw the rise of single family rentals. And I always love to share this graph because it highlights how, as a civilization here in the US, we are really evolving in the way people are living. And back in 1960, large majority were married parents at 44%. But over the last 60 years, we've seen a steady decline, and this has now become one of the smallest segments of our market. This is that single family rental segment. But when we look at the single no kids category and the other category, which is cohabitation amongst unmarried partners, roommates, and adult relatives, both of these have more than doubled. And so, yes, a lot of the economic factors have contributed to the compressed yield and decline in single family rentals. But I think there's an argument to be said here that it's also about just how we're living here in the United States. And I know co-living and this sort of room rental and shared housing model is a bit strange and unusual for us in the United States, but if you go anywhere outside any other country, it's kind of become the norm. And when we look at the demographics across the US, the single childless men demographic has actually become the fastest growing US demographic. There was a research study done by the Pew Research Center. Just dropped a link to that research report if you are interested in kind of reviewing that when you have some downtime. It shows how, this is a growing segment. And it's not just something, again, that happened because of AI or anything within, the recent times. This has been a steady trend that has been happening over decades. And so for those of you who own real estate capital, it's really about thinking about how can you reposition the capital that you have in a way that will be able to not only be able to maximize the return for this growing segment, but also serve for a need for those who are in our community that are single residents looking for an affordable place to stay. And this is where really PadSplit is a partner, helping provide the technology as the largest room rental marketplace to be able to help you run and operate your business efficiently. And we do partner with many vendors, Dave and many others in these local communities, to help run and operate the day-to-day operations. And we've really seen tremendous amount of growth as far as who would actually rent a PadSplit and who we serve. Everyday working class residents, right? Anyone making between $20,000 to $60,000 a year. And since we've started, we've now had the opportunity to be able to serve over 63,000 residents. And I can tell you, someone who's also a PadSplit host, having been live as a host on the platform for a little over a year and a half now. These are everyday people, our teachers, people who work in retail, UPS, Amazon. It's such a growing large segment of our population in our communities. And when we look at the search data, as far as like what's happening at PadSplit, I mean, just tremendous amount of search volume. Over the last 30 days, we've had over 1.3 million searches for rooms for rent. This blue graph here at the top just kind of highlights the total amount of searches that are happening on PadSplit. This orange graph shows distinct searches. Ones, again, individuals may search multiple times in different areas, so that's where we look at that total searches. But in terms of distinct searches, we kind of have that metric here. I know they're a little bit too small to read. I'm sorry about that. So it shows about like 10,000 or so. These are per day visits that we're seeing. And then the blue line is right around like 40 to 50,000 per day visits that we're seeing. But this just kind of shows the last month. Now, for those of you who have not heard about PadSplit or not really exactly familiar with what services we provide, again, very simple, just a very quick run through. PadSplit provides industry-leading advertising. This is probably our biggest investment as a marketplace for room rentals, as we have a performance-based fee structure, so we're incentivized to get those rooms filled. PadSplit also handles the screenings and the legal agreements. Every resident must go through a background screening, eviction report, and income verification. And PadSplit also does provide 24/7 support for the residents, and there's also a host support team for those who are hosts with listing a property on PadSplit. And we also handle payment collection services where residents are paying weekly or bi-weekly, and the host gets paid out at the beginning of every new month. So just a quick couple updates that are happening at PadSplit. I know it's super short notice, but for anyone who's tuning in from Nashville, tomorrow, in fact, we're actually having probably one of the largest events of the year. It's the Summit to Scale event. I just dropped a link to this event. It's an Eventbrite. It's free. I believe it's free to join. But we're going to have our founder, Atticus LeBlanc. He's kind of right here in the bottom right-hand corner, but also Pace Morby and many others, Fernando Corona, a lender with PadSplit. So just really, if you have the opportunity, or maybe if it's a little bit of a drive to get out there, I would highly recommend it. It's a one-day event, and there's going to be tons of individuals who are in the co-living community and the real estate investing community that will be sharing and providing value. And we are still running our promotion for Portland. So if there's anyone tuning in from Portland, we are offering $500 per room for new host. This is only for the city of Portland at this time. Sorry for anyone who's in other core markets, but we are really looking to grow and expand our impact in the Portland area. So if you know someone, there's a chance where you can make $1,000 for the referral bonus, and then those who you're referring could be making $500 per room. So there's definitely a good business opportunity, but I just dropped a link in the chat to a landing page that provides some more information on what's happening in Portland, why we believe this is, a great core market for PadSplit, and also a quick video from our president, Cliff Johnson, who was the former co-founder of Vacasa. So probably, you guys probably tired of hearing me, so that kind of wraps up my segment here. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Dave. I'm going to stop sharing, Dave, and you can go ahead and take it from here.
I'm on mute. Fantastic, my friend. Let's see if the share still works. All right, so share my entire screen. I'll make it easier. All right. Okay, so with our deck that we have updated. Oh, bada bing. Sorry, I should have had this set up front. This is my fault.
All good.
Okay. Close you and full screen it. Slideshow. Here we go. All right, guys. So again, as mentioned earlier, I'm Dave Edwards. Started up co-living operations in the last couple of months. This is building off of my history operating better rooms, and before that, Weir Property Services over the last couple of years. Okay. Our goal here is to take our property management experience that we developed in the Houston market, the first core market outside of Atlanta that launched again back in 2021, having managed a little over 350 rooms. These rooms that we have, we either helped our clients manage them after they launched the properties, but a vast majority of our properties, I, as an agent, help my clients identify the homes. We then rehab the homes for them to a co-living standard, adding more bedrooms, refreshing bathrooms, adding kitchens, and going through just making sure the property was going to have a good space flow, which is important. It's not enough just to shove a bunch of rooms in there and think you're going to be okay. The home has to still feel comfortable. You have to be able to walk through it and not be concerned about the home. I feel like you're a gerbil running through a maze, right? So we help make sure that the homes have that good touch and feel. Okay. We help our clients scale. Several of my clients are now operating 3 or 4 homes, multiple bedrooms in each. The largest home that we managed was 14 bedrooms. Now that owner has since taken that in a different direction, but we operated a 14-bedroom home quite successfully, got that filled up in about 2.5 months, kept that full through the client takeover. Okay. Again, I'm Dave Edwards, been here. Our newest service that we're launching with co-living operations is what we're calling our fractional VA service. Again, we're taking everything that we've learned, the SOPs that we've developed, that we've successfully applied from home design to operating the property, managing the tenant concerns, managing the client concerns, the homeowner, and handling all of the maintenance requests and other elements there. And we're applying that now in a nationwide format. Okay. Again, I've been on PadSplit for quite a while. Very good, very high performance, having come through as rated by our tenants and our clients. Okay. So Emmanuel went through and he explained quite briefly what co-living is. Just as another primer, co-living is the idea of taking a home, single family, and breaking it up. If you want to make more money from something, there's 2 ways to do it. All right. One, you can split it by time. And historically, we've been looking at splitting up homes by time with Airbnb or other vacation rental packages. You can take a house that would rent for 18 to 2,000 bucks, and you can make 6, 8, 10, sky's the limit, $1,000 by renting it on Airbnb. But we've seen challenged Airbnb certainly in the last year, 2 years or so, right? A lot of homes that were bought up during the COVID era are now not performing. There are challenges there with keeping that performance up. People are selling the properties, they're moving out. That whole idea of slicing by time just got flooded. And it has had concerns, there have been resident concerns for the way Airbnb's short-term rentals work. What co-living does is slice it instead of by time, but by space. Taking that same thing, breaking it up. Same way you could take a dozen eggs, buy them for $3, turn around, sell off 2-3 eggs at a time for $2 each, end up arbitraging that and making 9-12 bucks out of a dozen eggs. You're doing the same thing here with co-living, taking a house that would rent for 2,000 bucks and getting it to a consistent, steady point where it's renting for $6, $7, $8,000 for that same property. All right, we are seeing strong demand. This time of year, it's a bit slower, but generally it's pretty good, pretty high. Servicing healthcare individuals, students, gig workers. I love the gig workers. I love Uber drivers specifically. An Uber driver tends to make their payments. And if they're having trouble, they go out and they do another couple of shifts. Uber drivers are awesome. All right. To that point, I mean, on my Facebook group, you may have seen a post on that, right? We're looking at designing homes specifically for specific niche categories going forward. All right. That can be different amenities that you apply, different designs to the home, targeting specific locations more so. So while the vast majority of PadSplit properties co-living, you're going to be going after the generalized affordable housing workforce. And that's great. Designing a home for specifics will let you get into the niches. Niches are more sticky. Great recommendation we have for Uber drivers is, well, there's a lot of Uber drivers, if you haven't noticed, that are driving Teslas, right? There's a couple of reasons for that. One, Uber actually has a car rental platform, so people that don't have a car can rent a car from Uber, and then use that to generate their revenue. 2, Teslas have gotten cheaper. 3, they're much easier to maintain. I have a Tesla Y. We have spent next to nothing on maintenance for that. I think the only thing we've done is change some tires. And even then, you're changing less tires. We haven't had to change brakes. I've had it for 4 years. They're just easier to maintain. So, what does all this mean? Well, if your Uber drivers are likely to have Teslas, throwing a Tesla charger or two at your property, marketing it as having Tesla chargers on site is going to get you your Uber drivers, right? They're, again, great tenant. They pay on time. They're falling behind. They do more shifts. They can then make up that payment. So it's a great target that you can get just by adding another amenity that you might otherwise add. And adding 2 Tesla chargers, about $5,000 if you do it yourself. If you know how to wire it, gives you the fast charge. You're fine. There's different charging levels you can play with, but that's just an idea for going sticky. Okay. Other ways of going sticky, we like truck drivers, long haul truck drivers. So for long haul truck drivers, I'm looking for, and I found a couple of them, long haul truck driver parking lots where they can park their rigs and getting homes near that parking lot. So now we're talking about buying at a specific location. Okay. And then marketing to that group, something like that. You put a sign out front with your QR code to your PadSplit listing, room for rent right there. That's going to help you pull in people because they're going to see it right when they drive by when they're parking
Dave,
their
I know we're
truck.
going to have Q&A later, but there's a really good question from Corinne King where she asked,
Yep.
do you think co-living will flood the market eventually also, just as we saw like with Airbnb?
I think there is a strong demand, continuing and growing demand for affordable housing. And until we start seeing solutions for that, the need for co-living is going to be there. It's addressing affordable housing. There is this idea people have of, what's a good word for it? Like boutique lifestyle co-living,
Hmm.
right? I haven't seen that really materialize in any great numbers. People aren't, this whole idea of community is great. You can try to build it. You can work towards that. But the boutique co-living, I'm not seeing as much as we are seeing affordable housing. So long as that remains a challenge, I don't think we're going to be flooding the market anytime soon. Specific markets, as we've seen with PadSplit, probably could use more marketing support to get the word out to make that stronger. I believe the demand is there, but may be undereducated, underutilized,
Mm-hmm.
which is one reason why I'm looking at niching in to really penetrate deep into specific areas that I see performance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Dave. And for those who are here as well, please feel free to drop the questions in the chat. And then later on, once we get to the Q&A, if you also want to take yourself on mute, we'll have an opportunity for you to come off. But for the sake of time, Dave, we'll just kind of keep things moving for now.
Perfect. All right. So again, you're getting higher revenue. My flagship property Diplomat would rent for $1,800 to $1,900 a month. Today it rents for $6,500 to $8,000 a month coming through. Okay. All right. What are the challenges for a homeowner? What are the things that I've identified that my team has built SOPs around that we help our clients basically not have to worry about because they've got us in their corner? Okay. You're going to hear from a lot of people all the good things, right? The great things, you take one house where if you had a tenant not paying single family, you're paying that out of pocket, right? If you have that $1,800, $1,900 a month mortgage payment, pity payment, you have your one tenant in there, they don't make their payment, you're paying that out of pocket to keep your house, right? And given paying a single month for a long-term rent is going to get rid of all of your cash flow for the year. You're making about $200 a month or less. What you're seeing, you having to pay for 1 month means no cash flow for you. Sorry. In co-living, you're able to, you know, handle that because even if you have one person not in there paying, you have 6, 7 other people paying, you're covering all your bills. You're not coming out of pocket. It's a much safer investment from that point. But the negatives are here as well. You have more maintenance requests. You have 8 people living in a home. Things are going to be used more, right? Those are going to be things from your faucets are going to be used more. Your garbage disposal will be utilized more than it will with a single family home. Your showers are going to get a bit more use out of them. Your shower doors are going to get slid back and forth a bit more often. You're going to be over there taking care of the property. quite frequently. That all comes down to the frequency of that comes down to how well you set it up. Okay. So our team has SOPs around property design. The shower door, for example, right? We recommend shower doors on any bathroom that's second floor or higher if you have a 3-story house. Why do we recommend shower doors? Too many tenants don't know how to use a shower curtain. They leave the curtain on the outside of the tub or the shower. Then you get water on the floor. That's going to wear through the grout over time. If you have grouted floors, if you have tile floors, then you're going to be dealing with the guy below you complaining about dripping ceilings. So a shower door comes in. But once you do a shower door, now you get this thing that's moving around, right? We found that. So what we do now is we get the shower door. We will screw one door in place, and then we will silicone caulk around it. So that one door doesn't move. You've now limited your challenges to just the one door that moves. That helps you maintain that shower, helps you prevent water damage, so you're not having to repair ceilings below, solves that problem, solves the shower door, so you have better maintenance there. So just the SOPs around design going into co-living can help you reduce your maintenance requests on the back end. All right. Tenant disputes. We have SOPs around tenant disputes, and we're always working to revise and tweak this. The tenant base that we have a lot of times doesn't know how to communicate with each other. A lot of times the default is anger towards one another. Someone leaves dishes in the sink, they lash out, or petty issues coming back and forth. So we work on the tenant disputes. We ensure that our tenants know that communication with us is anonymous. We communicate back. It's always, hey, we have reports that someone in the home is leaving dishes in the sink. Please understand that dishes in the sink lead to pests and other issues. If you've been to other PadSplits, you may have had this problem. That's probably why you came to us, because we're awesome. Please take care of your dishes. Don't leave them in the sink for more than an hour after you've prepared. Give them a little bit of time. Don't be drill sergeant specific requirement, because oftentimes you're cooking and then you want to eat before you clean. You want to eat while it's hot. So we give them a little bit of leeway, but we make sure that they understand the reasoning for the rule and try to handle that. Really soften the challenges. Okay. Guest violations are a big one. At PadSplit or with other co-living properties that we've managed that operate off PadSplit. Guests issues. One reason why I don't like couches. Okay, Manuel mentioned it, kind of referenced that earlier. If you have a couch, you're going to end up with someone sleeping on that couch. Okay, someone's going to have somebody over, crash on the couch. We like to remove things that make the home more comfortable for a guest. It's another reason why one of the reasons why my standard bed size, for example, is a full size bed. Never go twins are convicts, but a full size bed is comfortable for most single individuals. Queen is the smallest size that's comfortable on an ongoing basis for a couple, for 2 people. So just by engineering that, so you have a full size bed, it's large enough, it looks good in the home, it can help you design to remove dispute. Not having couches, not providing additional dishware, so we don't provide the additional dishware. Tenants bring that, helps reduce the guest violation issues. Additionally, we put on the front of our doors, we started doing this, no guests. It's literally a sign on the entry doors. Our members only is on the door, just to remind people. Okay. We make sure that we let people know when they're moving into the home during our screener that there is strict rules against guests. Tell them it's for a couple of reasons. It helps us keep it affordable because we're not utilizing more utilities than we've identified and budgeted for. They don't really care about that. 2, it prevents you from having an axe murderer in the home. Everyone that's on PadSplit house has been background checked by PadSplit. Our team does an additional screening, so we can get into that a little bit. But it makes sure that, hey, you don't know, maybe Susie's brother just got out of jail, and if we allow guests, she's gonna have him in there, and maybe he goes through and he stabs everybody. You don't want guests because you don't know who they are. This is a co-living establishment. People are going to be walking around the home. They need to know who they're walking through, who they're walking near, who's by them, who's in their house. Okay. Room turns. whenever someone moves out, you have different quality of room turns. You have some guests that are fantastic. They'll clean the house up. We had one woman literally wash the walls before she moved out. It was great. Other guests leave trash, leave messes. I had a guy leave a poop rag. Okay. That made me throw up a little bit, which just added to the mess um in the room. So room turn quality or room turns is a big element to this. You need to understand that sometimes you're dealing with a larger turn. This is one reason why we don't allow for additional furniture to be brought into, why we don't mend. Now, in our market, it might be different. Our market, we don't recommend mini fridges to be provided by the host. You may offer them in yours, but we don't recommend offering mini fridges because that's another thing to clean. It's something that can go horribly wrong. And in our market, Houston, power goes out a lot, right? And if I have an 8-bedroom home with mini fridges, power goes out for a week or so, who's responsible for cleaning up that mini fridge? Me, my dollars, my cleaners going into that room, having to clean the mini fridge or replace it on our dollar, right? Now, if you want to decide that your business strategy is to allow people to bring in the mini fridge, sure, make sure you have it budgeted. It doesn't really add that much electricity, but you can do that. If you're in other markets with more stable electricity, fantastic. It's a great little addition to a home if you're going to account for that in your operations. Okay. Room turns, though, another point there, full encapsulated mattress protectors is our recommendation. Not the slip-on mattress covers. Those get removed whenever someone does their laundry. Whenever they wash their sheets. And wouldn't you have it, as soon as they decide to do their laundry, they also decide to have a bowl of soup. And then they walk in their room and then they trip and the tomato soup is all over the mattress and they don't tell you. And then they move out and then you go in there and you have a mattress that's completely ruined. You got to order a new mattress and get that in there. Or you think you're going to cheap out, you flip the mattress over. Okay, well, that doesn't work with today's mattresses. They're designed completely differently. So what are you doing? You're having to buy a new mattress, replace the old mattress. It adds headaches. You can reduce that issue just by using a full encapsulation mattress cover. Goes in, you got to zip it up. We're looking at putting a strip of duct tape on there too. All these little things, right, that add up to saving you big dollars is what our team has identified and developed with SOPs on around setting up a property to reduce things down the line. Okay, everything ties together. All right. Once someone's in, we have rent follow-up. We're starting to actually implement a process. We had this idea the other week. We're starting to document our tenants. For tenants that we like, right? When they're moving out, we're screenshotting their details. We're recording their phone number, their email address, their performance scores. And about a month after they move out, we're starting to reach back out to them. Like, hey, is the grass actually greener? Maybe you want to come back. We'll sweeten the deal. We'll re-give you the promotion for the first couple of weeks. We'll reach out to PadSplit, have that applied because it's not something you can do directly right now. Come on back. We love you. You were great. We got a room ready for you, right? Doing some follow-up because keeping people in your house is important, right? So adding that in, right? And then vendor coordination, having your vendors there, knowing who you like, who you've trusted, developing those vendors. Again, something that our team can do, especially in a new market. We have an SOP for vendor identification. You've got your big four, your cleaners, your landscapers, your pest control, and your handyman or your big four. We want to make sure we got those figured out. And you might go through a couple as you're trying people out because those are really trustworthy and the core people that you have. If you're not going to be in that home all the time, you want your cleaners in there taking before and after pictures so you can identify the condition of the home before they start cleaning, after pictures so you can verify that they did their job, go through a checklist. An app that we really like for cleaners and we're implementing more is Turno, which requires them to have a checklist, but also take a photo of each element so they don't forget in order to then get paid through the app, right? It's fantastic. It really is a better structure than what we were doing before when we started, which was having them emailing us pictures. Now you got a bunch of emails coming in. Keep in mind, 55 homes, bunch of emails having to go through. The Turno provides a good element there. And I really need to reach out to them and get an affiliate. Now I'm thinking about it. If I'm going to keep talking about them. Anyway, so that's one element of it, right? Then you got your handyman. He's going to be there. You've got your landscaper. You want before and after photos from your landscaper as well. Okay. But how else can you test? Can you verify your landscaper does their job? How can you make sure that people are taking the trash out on trash day? Exterior cameras. An exterior camera is going to let you make sure that the guest violations aren't occurring, but also lets you, if you point it right, check on the grass, make sure the grass is mowed when the guy says he's going to mow it, or identify, hey, grass is growing faster than we thought. Maybe we should get someone out there faster, right? As well as verify that the trash can was taken out. A lot of times we'll have tenants be like, oh no, the trash was there. They drove right by, but I had the can out. We look at the camera, we see that they didn't take the trash can out until after the truck had passed. We've seen that happen a couple of times. So having the cameras there again works with your operations. All right, history again with PadSplit, 55 homes, 400 rooms, top host. Seems to be a bit out of order, but again, that history has allowed us to build the SOPs, give you the knowledge that we have here, train my VAs up. All my VAs have my knowledge at their fingertips. I've got a lot of SOPs that we've written up. They have access to me. We are working to give you through CoLiving Operations, look at that top right, colivingoperations.com. Go there if you haven't already. You can request time to speak. 30-minute session is free to go over your property, see if we can help you out as a quick ad. All right. But that lets my VAs work with you to express my knowledge in the management of your property. So you don't need to sit here and learn everything that I can just spew out, as I think I've just been doing, right? I have all the knowledge. You don't need to spend 5 years developing it. Okay. We can take it to you. All right. Every home, the home doesn't fail, operations do. If you're sitting there running your home, it's a constant headache. Oh my God, this is breaking. This is set up. My electric bill is much higher than I expected it to be. It's the operational elements, things we're not taking into consideration. I had a client come to me being like, hey, I have $800. He's a client now, it wasn't at the time. Reached out and said, I got an $800 electric bill. This is crazy. I'm like, yeah, of course it's crazy. My 10-bedroom home rarely breaks 350, $400. How are you with an 8-bedroom home hitting 800? Turns out he had no insulation in his attic at all. No insulation. I got an insulation guy, 65 cents per foot. We got him over there, or square foot. We got him over there. He insulated that house. The price dropped quite dramatically on his electrical usage. All right. We had a woman that had high water bill issues. Well, it turns out there's a guy that was outside, was doing two things. He bought himself a little pool he'd like to soak in the sun, and he was also washing his car almost every day. What do? We put a water spigot lock on the spigot outside. We remind everybody, hey, water usage is not, unlimited water usage for you to wash your cars is not a part of the PadSplit experience. It's there for you to take your showers. And we were able to trim that water bill down. Okay. Another thing there is make sure that your cleaners are always checking every toilet to make sure that they're not constantly running. That right there could be something. If you get the little chain gets hooked up on something, suddenly your water bill goes sky high and you're dealing with that. Having your cleaners who are in the house checking on some things for you as part of their standard is going to help you with your operations. Scaling, more messages, more problems, more stress, right? As you get more homes, if you get higher bedroom counts, you're going to have more challenge with people, more things are going to break, right? Setting them up appropriately, understanding the systems, understanding the operations, having the bed that's not a wood frame bed. There's a nice post on that on the Facebook group. So that's in there as well. Why we recommend our metal frame beds, right? You do a wood frame, it looks gorgeous, beautiful headboard, nice cherry wood appearance. It took you 45 minutes to put it together, and it's going to break whenever your tenant jumps on it. We've had a 400-pound man wants to jump on a bed. Boom. That's going to break that bed, and it is a huge headache to change a bed. Okay. Again, just knowing what you're going to have to face down the line can help you out. All right. Many hosts are spending 15, 20 hours a week dealing with their properties. Again, our SOPs, our processes are incoming welcome package and process, the fact that we're setting things up, and we can educate you on how to set things up, is going to help you out and reduce those hours. In fact, we'll guarantee if we're your co-living operator, you're going to spend less than 5 hours a week managing your portfolio because we're going to take care of it for you. I'm going to emulate that. If you have 100 homes, it's going to take longer, larger volume. All right. Some more nuggets. This is my bed frame. I love this bed frame. It looks plain. If you don't like the way it looks, you can get a $20 bed skirt and make it look nice. But this bed for co-living operations, we have over 200 in service in the last 5 years. Not a single one has ever broken. This bed on the left goes up in under 2 minutes. And most of that time is spent getting it out of the box. It unfolds, the legs click, it gets in. They have different heights. If you want to have a bed that's taller so people can store stuff underneath it because maybe your room's a little bit smaller, this bed is fantastic. All right. And if you're trying to put together 8 to 10 bedrooms and each bed's taking you 30 minutes and each bed has an Allen wrench and your son's name is Allen and you're going to go home hating your son because of the Allen wrench because you dealt with Allen for 8 hours dealing with the beds, you're going to understand why having a bed that goes together in a few minutes is sturdy, does not break, can be dressed up if you want to have it look a little bit better, is great. You'll notice there's no headboards. Headboards are a weakness for a bed. If you've ever dealt with a headboard, if you have headboards at home, they wiggle. That's a break point. It's a challenge. It's something that just feels flimsy. Not every bed is like that, granted, but many beds are. If you go to a hotel, what do you see at a hotel? You'll generally see the bed is just like this. It's a platform bed. Okay, mattress on top. Headboard is attached to the wall. So if you want headboards, if you like the headboard aesthetic, I recommend you buy headboards separately that can be attached to the wall. It's going to do a couple of things. It's going to remove the weak point. It's going to preserve the design aesthetic of it. It's going to protect the wall from your hair oils. So you don't need to wash the wall, although you are going to need to wash the headboard. And it's going to be there and really set the space. So when you have a room turn, if your tenant has moved the bed around, you can tell your cleaner, please recenter the bed on the headboard. That gets your room back to its expected condition, expected layout and format from one tenant to the next. That is actually kind of important. We've had people move beds around quite a bit. Layout doesn't make sense. Someone moves in, they're like, this is a different room than the one that I booked. It looks completely different. No, they just moved the furniture around. We'll be over there to help you move the bed if you want. We've dealt with that. Something else that can save you literally hundreds of dollars is ceiling fans. We recommend ceiling fans in rooms, right? Not everyone will, maybe not every climate works, but here in Houston and other southern climates, we certainly recommend ceiling fans. Why? It gives the tenant at least the illusion that they have some control over their comfort. They have a fan. If it's too hot in the room, they can turn the fan on, right? A standing fan has gone walkabout. We've had people leave with standing fans when we've provided them. The ceiling fan provides that. But if you get a ceiling fan with a dome, right? The light bulb goes out. It is a pain to reach up there with your little fingers and get the little screws out. You might not want to trust your tenant to do it because they might drop the dome or they might fall off the bed or whatever. They just might not feel comfortable doing it, but they're complaining that a light bulb died. You send a handyman over there, you got the handyman fee to change a light bulb. A $2 light bulb costs you 100 plus. Now you got to pay your handyman. If you just get the traditional style fans, you can get to be able to change your light bulbs out. Okay, Corinne, you're texting me. Is something bad? Okay, perfect. Golden nugget. Thank you, Corinne. Right, so now you can change that light bulb out. You can send someone an Amazon package. Hey, your light bulb's out. Here you go. You're not sending your handyman over. They're getting their problem solved, and you can move on with your process. You just saved yourself a couple $100, not having the handyman involved. You've solved the problem without having to visit the property. Life is easy. Okay. QR code right here should take you to our website, colivingoperations.com/recommended items. I believe it is. We're going through recommending that. Everything we're adding to that as we find more items that we like. Okay. And again, all this knowledge, this is just a example of the knowledge that we have. I'm trying to enunciate to you. Again, I know what I'm doing. I can help you out. Reach out to us. We can bring value to you. All right, enhanced operations. So beyond helping set things up, what does our team do? Okay, so we provide a layer on top of PadSplit. So PadSplit is great. They bring the tenants in, they do an initial screening, they provide tools for you to use for communication. What do we do on top of that? Okay, so during the application process, we do a couple of things. One is we give everybody a phone call in the 24, 40-hour window that we have before acceptance of a tenant. We evaluate, we call, we talk, we figure out, hey, do you know what you're getting into? What's your history? We try to feel out the tenant. We also have a questionnaire. Okay, this is something that's relatively new. We just came up with it last month or so. I'm part of masterminds with other large scale operators. One of the things that we got out of that is the questionnaire. So we're doing a questionnaire. This was created with tally.so, I believe. Tally is awesome. Oh my God, it's so much better than a Google form. Um, so that's a little tidbit. Tally.so is great for questionnaires, for pretty much anything you want to do. We're going to be using it extensively. It's a great little app. So the questionnaire goes through and it asks them questions, you know. Specifically, we're trying to do a couple of things: gather more information on people so we can add that to our database. We're trying to scare away or educate people on the ESA animal situation. If you've been at this for a while, you probably had someone with an animal trying to get in. We have a couple of requirements. Do you have an ESA? If so, that's great. We follow all the laws regarding ESAs. However, here's a couple things you need to know. If you have an ESA, you are personally responsible. That animal is treated as a element of your person. The rules are no mess. The dog makes a mess, you must be picking it up immediately. $25 fine or removal, depending on the challenge and how frequently the issue's been happening. Your animal must not be barking all day. You leave the dog home and it's barking all day, that is a violation of other tenants and their right to happiness and enjoyment and use of the property. It's a noise violation if it happens at night, right? So you must be ideally bringing the animal with you. So we're providing some insights into how they're going to have repercussions for having an animal there. If they bring the animal outside to use the bathroom, they must immediately pick that up. If our landscapers start reporting that there are dog poop throughout the yard, they will be fined for that. Okay, it is a challenge. It causes a smell, it causes pests, it causes all sorts of other problems. They must pick that up. We require all vaccinations within the last 12 months. You can require vaccinations. They're gonna be living with somebody. You can't have an animal accidentally or purposely biting another tenant and maybe they have rabies. You don't know. They don't have the vaccination shot record. So you require the records. You can't ask what their problem is, why they need an ESA, but you can require a doctor's note stating that they require one with the doctor's required information, phone number, so you can call and verify, as well as it has to be done within the last 12 months. With those couple of points, people that are faking it they got a fake ESA, will be screened out. They'll say this is not worth it. They're going to self-screen themselves out of the process. So that's what the questionnaire is for. Help us narrow things down. It also allows us to sell ourselves, right? You're an Uber driver. The tally, you can do branching things. If they say they're an Uber driver, oh, by the way, did you know that we have Tesla chargers for you here? Great benefit for you. It's all here for you. That's why the room rate will be this, and what we can add your access to that, right? You can sell it through as part of your process. Again, we do the phone vetting, we do the background checks. As a real estate agent, I have access to Forewarn. Anyone can have access to Forewarn, another tool. FOREWARN, I believe it is, or it's FORWARN. Can't recall the exact spelling. That allows you to, with someone's email address or phone number, do another background check. Okay. A lot of concerns people have had with PadSplit is the quality of background checks. So running additional background checks can only be useful for you. Okay. We go through, we'll contact references as they are available. All right. So all of that said, I've spewed a lot of knowledge. I've shown that I know what I'm talking about. I've been at this for a while. We offer two services. Okay. One is the babysitter service. All right. This is, hey, listen, I'm not sold on having someone operate my property for me full time. I like to operate my property. I like to go over there and deal with it. This is who I am. But you know what? I want to go to Barcelona. And if I go somewhere, my wife's going to yell at me if I'm checking on the phone constantly and dealing with handyman scheduling and dealing with that conflict. And oh my God, what's going on? I got to schedule stuff. I'm on my phone constantly because you got to respond quick if you want to keep people engaged and happy in your home. Our babysitter service does just what a babysitter would do for your child. You let us know you're interested. We collect information just as you would give emergency contact information to your babysitter. We're going to talk to you. We're going to find out who your cleaner is, who your handyman is, right? We're going to talk to you about what's an allowable amount to spend while you're gone if something happens, right? Because we want to be responsive. If you have a toilet break or if you have a sewer issue, right? You want to be responding quickly to that. We're going to find out who you want to use, who you would use, and apply that for you, right? Just as a babysitter keeps your kid alive but doesn't teach it calculus, right? We're going to keep your property going. We're not going to be making substantive changes to your processes. We're not going to be applying things. We're not going to be doing advanced screening. We're going to help you keep it going. Okay. So if you want to go on a vacation, you don't want to have your phone in your hand, you don't want to be yelling or fighting with your spouse because you're looking at your phone instead of dealing with what you need to do, this is perfect for you. $100 a week. Okay. Plus, we have a $250 cost for onboarding. But if you are sitting with us and you mention that you are part of this uh, call today, we'll drop that onboarding fee down to $100. That's just for the time that we take working with you to onboard your property. It's a one-time fee to get you in there, and then $100 a week whenever you go. All right. Once on board, you give us a call a couple of days before you take off. We'll make sure that we're set up. You'll add CoLiving Ops to your PadSplit account so we can see it, and we'll take care of you. Okay. All right. So that benefit is fantastic, if you want to be there. If maybe you've done the babysitter service, you've seen how well our team functions, you like what we're doing, you might want to then step up from there and be like, you know what, heck with it. I want to be more hands off. Let's go with a full fractional VA, or maybe you skip a step. You're already at that point today where you're sick of dealing with things. You want to bring in the knowledge of somebody else so you don't need to learn it. You can bring it with a VA service. All right. So our VA service, we're going to go there. We're going to onboard you. If you don't have the handyman, if you don't have a cleaner you like, we have, again, SOPs to, in your market, identify people that are going to work for you. Okay. We're going to go through, we might go through a couple of iterations, different people. It's part of the process. We're going to get you to your core four, and then we're going to spread your second and your third tier individuals that you need to properly operate a home. We can work with you. Part of this is consultation. Hey, we look through, we talk to you, we look at the photos. They need to be brightened up. We have the VA will be there to help you with your listing, to help tweak pricing, to help tweak photos, to help you operate your home. They're going to handle those maintenance requests. They're going to handle the tenant disputes. They're going to follow our processes that we've developed and give you that power, again, without you needing to sit there racking your brain. Okay. Again, you could sit there and be like, listen, I can just hire my own VA. Great. But now you need the time to train the VA, to know the knowledge, to train the VA yourself and bring them on board. Or skip that, go right to somebody that knows what they're doing with. Okay. Again, we handle the SOP alignment. We have our VAs already trained, instant capacity. We're here, and you're going to spend less than 5 hours a week handling your portfolio. Why would you spend any time at all? Well, the VA is going to meet with you, ideally daily, for about 15 minutes a day. Okay. But we can scale that back to weekly, depending how things are going, just to let you know, because you're here, you're operating your property. You probably want to know how it's going. During that 15-minute call, they're going to update you pretty quickly on, all right, yesterday we had 3 people apply. We called all 3 of them. One we got rid of right away because she had an eviction last year. The other 2 we approved. They're moving in 2 days. Let you know how you're doing with the tenancy. They're going to let you know how things are going as far as your cleaners. Yep, the cleaner was there yesterday. That's all set. They're going to let you know if there's any other little challenges going on that you might want to be aware of. They'll also be working with you for bigger things, right? The laundry machine broke again for the third time in the last 3 weeks. We really recommend that you get a new washing machine, because it's just going to keep breaking, it's going to keep charging you money. Here's the one that we recommend. Thumbs up, great. We'll order it. We'll get it delivered. We'll get it taken care of for you. Okay. The power of an assistant at your fingertips that knows what to recommend, that's not asking you, oh, I don't know what to do, but gives you that impetus and that drive. Okay. So again, the babysitter service, short-term support, fractional VA, ongoing support, babysitter vacation and emergency services, or it's a risk-free test. You try it out, see what we can do for you. $100 a week per house. The fractional VA, again, ongoing support, full operations from beginning to end. In fact, we can even launch fractional VA while you're undergoing, after you have it acquired and you're undergoing rehab. We'll apply our knowledge to help you validate your floor plans. We'll help you validate your buy list, your furnishings, right? As long as you're paying the $350, you gain access to our knowledge coming on board. We bring this in. You don't need to be live. In fact, I would honestly recommend that you look at this as soon as you get it under contract. You onboard us on there to help you again with that floor plan, with that furniture selection. You can throw by your ideas, and we'll help you make sure you understand the full operational impact of what's going on. Okay. Who we work with, our ideal partners are PadSplit hosts, you, multi-home operators, hands-off investors, people that want to take a step back, and people that are looking to scale. And as they're scaling, you're realizing, okay, this is easy to do when I had one. All right, now my second property. Okay, now I'm dealing with 16 people, and I got a day job. I can't keep being interrupted with my phone buzzing when I'm talking to my clients. My boss is looking at me funny. What am I doing? But I can't wait too long to take care of the problems. If you do that, satisfaction drops, performance goes down. So there we are. I have talked a lot. I have not seen the chat while I'm talking. My apologies. You have our QR code on the right. If you scan that, they'll take you right to the booking page. Okay, there are 3 options there. You want the one that's a 30-minute VA discussion. There is also a one-on-one consulting. If you want to talk about something else, something broader, some strategy, we do that. And then there's floor plan review. If you just have some floor plans you want to work through, we can do that as well. YouTube, we're at CoLiving Operations. Episode 3 is launching soon. Working on get them out every 2 weeks. We have the school, so that's going to be revising and revamping and relaunching here shortly with in-depth class on how to operate. And then you can always email us with any other questions. That said, I talked a lot. I need to drink something.
Well, Dave, incredible job, man. Thank you for just sharing all that. The chat has been blowing up with questions, so I'm going to kind of scroll all the way back up to the top. There's a question from Devin here that's really a question for everyone. Which neighborhoods have you found work best for PadSplit? Does PadSplit work in more economic disadvantaged areas, or conversely, does it also work in these kind of high-income neighborhoods? What are your thoughts? And then I'll kind of answer that as well.
All right, so I stopped screen sharing so I can see your beautiful face, my friend. All right. So the best neighborhoods that we have found, where people are happy, the tenants stay for longer, where the neighbors don't have any concerns, where the area looks good and is still near the work amenities. We like Hispanic working class neighborhoods. Why do I like specifically Hispanic working class neighborhoods? People are taking care of their properties. They look great for a working class neighborhood. They are taken care of quite well. They look great. Lawns are mowed. Houses are taken care of. They're fantastic. The culture is certainly accepting of multiple vehicles at the home, multiple people in the home. It's family oriented. It's great. You don't stand out. Working class neighborhoods are going to be near transportation. They're going to be near jobs, right? Within that within the category. So you're identifying those specific areas. High income, high class neighborhoods. I would love to say that they're do well, but the cost of your property is going to be through the roof. Your ROI is going to be correspondingly lower. Just because you're in a neighborhood that's great doesn't mean people have or are willing to pay the amount that you would necessarily need for a bedroom in that area, right? Your bedroom ranges tend to be fairly tightly knit. They're not people just if you're doing co-living, again, this gets back to the idea of boutique co-living or co-living with conscious or community, trying to develop that. If you have a hook, you may be able to bring that to fruition. But we don't tend to see that happening. Um
And
that
what I'll just add to the statement, with PadSplit, it's really meant to be a privatized marketplace solution for affordable housing. And so whenever we throw out the word like working class, like what does that truly mean? Well, those are individuals that are making between 80% to 120% of your area median income. So if you're someone kind of thinking about pad split, well, really, look at an income demographic map of the city that you're planning to invest in and look for those areas that are 80 to 120%. Now, we also do service those who are low income earners, though that's anyone making less than 80% of the area median income, right? So really anywhere less than 100 120% of the area median income is what you're going to see the greatest bang for your buck and typically the greatest performance with your pad split property.
Sorry,
Um,
say that again. That was you. There was no question there. You end it with a questioning sound, but
oh,
yes.
yeah. It's 7 o'clock here Eastern time, and it's been a
No
long day.
problem.
But
I'll say I'm
question,
looking at the questions.
yeah,
Crystal was asking, is it available in Charlotte? Both of my services are available nationwide. Okay. We develop the SOPs from being our own boots on the ground and processes. We can help you anywhere. I'm here in Houston. One of my clients that we have on the VA service, he's in Miami. We're managing 3 properties for him. Um, oh, the link is wrong. Assets list. Okay. So if you go to colivingoperations.com, there's a page with our recommended items. It may be that the link was miscopied. Okay. Anyway, we can handle one of my clients is in Miami. We're handling his 3 properties. He is ecstatic with us. He's gone from spending 20, 30 hours a week on his 3 properties to again under 5 today through the use of our team.
Dave, there's a question from Antonio. So he has a questions about evictions. Have you ever had to deal with them? Also, do you have an escalation strategy for problem tenants? I'm wondering the other strategies you can use without going through the painful eviction path.
Yep. So we have had evictions. I'll say in the first 3 years of me developing my full portfolio, we had a total of 4 evictions. That's ridiculous. That was very low, much less than 1%. In the last 2 years, we've seen eviction counts rise, right? People have had challenges. They've been like, oh, we're not going to move. If you go into online, people are like trying to game the system. Like there's this whole thing out there. Um, we have an escalation policy. Yes. So first of all, we try to prevent evictions by if someone's in a higher price room and they're having trouble paying, like maybe this room isn't right for you right now. We try to get them to step down to a cheaper room that might be more affordable for them. Right. So part of avoiding the eviction is trying to make sure you understand what's going to lead to it. Right. They get out of control with their pricing. But you have people that are just there just to screw you. They're professional tenants. That's what they're there for. They see this as a game as a way for them to game the system. A lot of times they'll go under eviction and they'll ride it right out to court date, right? And then they leave, and now you're out. All of that lost money. You've also worked to get them to court. They leave, and you can't get that through. You got the property back, but you lost thousands of dollars. In that case, we've determined that offering cash for keys up to it's gonna sound crazy, up to like $2,000 is in the end worth it to you to get them out faster so that they also don't drive other tenants out. Right now, we say that we've done the math. I've never offered $2,000 cash for keys. The most I've done actually is $500, and the use I showed up with my truck and I helped him move his stuff over to a 1 week hotel. So here's $500. I helped you move over here. Here you go. Um, So trying to get creative with that. Cash for keys comes into play. PadSplit recommends the whole easy way, hard way discussion. Hey, it's easy. You can move out. This is the most affordable way you can live. Why would you want to jeopardize that? If you go through an eviction, you're never going to be allowed again. Why don't you just move out? They don't always take that, but it is a discussion that we have as well before we go in. But again, it's a hard pill to swallow doing cash for keys, but if spending $500 saves you 5,000, it's one thing to consider.
Dave, I have a follow-up question to that because I was chatting with another property manager here in the Florida area, and they've kind of steered away from the cash for keys because they had a couple of situations where they offered it, and then the resident ended up telling others that, hey, if you'll get
Yep.
a cash for keys offer if you wait. Like, how do you combat that? I'm just curious how you would approach that.
So that's one reason why we stopped doing it for a little bit. We saw our eviction rate go up. So we let people know it's not always available. Um, and you just hey, you're taking a gamble. Do you really want to push us? Right. We also take a step back by saying we're the operator. It's not our decision. Sure, the owner was willing to let him do it, but they might not let you do it. It's not our process. So sometimes being that middleman, which is another thing, if you have us in there, we're your middleman. We're just, hey, we're not the bad guy. The system is, and you can tweak things as they go through. Um, you don't want to have the meme spreading. So sometimes
Right.
you just need to every once in a while take a hard stance to break the meme.
So, Dave, we got questions coming in quicker than we can answer them. So we're going to kind of go through some rapid fires here.
I
And
don't know how to speak with rapid fire if you can't tell. I talk
we're
way
going to
too
learn
much.
tonight, brother.
Oh, here we go. All right.
So
Give it a shot.
when you offer EV charging to members, is it free or do you have to pay for it? If they have to pay, how is that handled?
Yep. So so today in the homes where we've offered it, where we've had different outlet, it's an incremental charge, and we charge between $10 and $20 extra per week per room. What you do is you message them in the PadSplit application. Hey, as we discussed, you're willing to pay another $10 per week for your bedroom for access to the outlet to charge your car. Please respond confirming this. They do that. You screenshot that, you email support@padsplit.com. You request that they bump the rent up because you, as a host, can only go on the platform and adjust it so much. And only after like 6 months, right? There's a lock on how frequently you can update it. But if they have a documented statement where the tenant is requesting the increase, you can do that. That also works if you want to offer other upgrades. If you want to have your base room come without a TV, but you want to offer a TV or a desk upgrade, you can do that. You say, hey, listen, we offer upgraded furnishings. If you would like to have a TV and desk installed in your room by the end of the week, understandably, $20 per week. You don't own the items, you have access to them. Please respond in the affirmative, and we'll get that done. I started that with PadSplit 3.5, 4 years ago, and they've worked that through. Still waiting for them to make it built into the system, but it'll get there eventually.
Coming soon. Yeah, I can tell you personally, I have it in my house rules, so that way when they're looking at the listing, they can see that EV charging is an extra $50 per month. Having a TV is an extra $20 per month. So I just put it in my house rules so it's visible on the listing. We can do it in the description. There are different ways of doing that. Now, um, as co-living becomes more common, do you think the city might regulate home sharing as they now regulate short-term rentals today? I'll take this one, Dave, because I think what we see with any sort of disruptive technology, whether we look at Uber, Airbnb, and now PadSplit, with time, I'm sure there will be regulations. I think what we have to our advantage right now is just how big of a need there is across the marketplace. And there really is no good silver bullet solution. I mean, PadSplit isn't either, but when we look at the public housing system and the waiting lists that are involved with that, like here in Jacksonville, there's over 50,000 people on the waiting list, and it takes 2.5 years just to get a decision. What are people doing in those 2.5 years, right? So I think we have momentum on our side with PadSplit, and I would encourage those who are thinking about it or on the fence, now is really the time to establish your operations, establish your vendor, your network, and your investment in a way that will position you for kind of the long-term success. But as with all disruptive technology, I do believe there will be changes, at some point. Uh,
Fantastic.
let's see. What are you using for the additional screening? Like specific questions? I know you mentioned forewarn. Talk a little bit more about that additional screening process.
Yep. So again, the additional screening process. So first question is why someone was asking, doesn't PadSplit pre-qualify people? Yes, PadSplit does an element of pre-qualification. You have to apply for PadSplit as a prospective member. They go through, they look for criminal background check. I think no felonies in the last 7 years or so. A couple of other things they're looking for. That's not always fully comprehensive. We found that the quality of the screening requires some enhancement, and you, as the homeowner or property manager, you're going to want to do a little bit more work. One thing that we do again is the questionnaire. Questions around ESA animals drive people away. Questions around have you ever lived in a co-living home before or with roommates? What was your experience like? We're building out part of that as a psychological questionnaire because we want to try to get a psychological picture as well. Try to keep that down to like 5, 10 questions without being too obvious about it in order to figure out if people are likely going to be a problem. Specifically, I'm trying to get rid of aggressive individuals that feel like they're going to, own the home and be a challenge for others. Okay. Um, so we're looking through that. So you got your questionnaire, psychological profile. Just make sure they understand what they're getting into as part of that. Um, and then the whole ESA questionnaire, right? But then we're doing forewarn as another background check that's available. Works quite well, and you can do that with the information that you get from PadSplit for the applying member. It works with a phone number. It works with an email address. You can isolate and get down to who you are looking at. Okay, um, really works out quite well.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. Kristen asks about insurance availability in today's current market. I'm going to drop a link to Single Source Insurance. So, Single Source Insurance is a nationwide provider for PadSplit insurance. What's really unique about their insurance coverage is that you only have one policy and then you can add multiple properties to that policy. And this insurance coverage does include hazard insurance and also liability insurance. But if you have any specific questions related to like the insurance component of it and what are some things that you can do to mitigate your risk, feel free to shoot me an email and happy to help on that. Let's see. Let me go back here because I typed that I lost where I was at. Um, so if PadSplit site does not have any homes in a zip code, does that mean that you cannot list in that zip code? No, it doesn't. In fact, actually, what many people don't realize is PadSplit is available nationwide. Now, we have emerging markets and core markets, and we do have a dedicated team member who is assisting those that are interested in emerging markets. But just because your zip code doesn't show up on that market data insights map does not mean that we cannot service it. It just means that we simply don't have data there yet because we don't have any active units. But we do have a way to be able to kind of estimate what your potential room rates will be based upon the fair market rent of a one bedroom in that area. So we have kind of a formula that we use to be able to estimate. So again, just feel free to shoot me an email and we can run through a complimentary earnings analysis. At the end of the day, it's just math. We got to run the numbers to see if it works. And then from there, have Dave help with the operations. Now, do you take any kind of deposits, Dave, or like what is your take on deposits? I know with PadSplit, we don't have any security deposits. It's kind of one of our marketing features to get people to join PadSplit, but what's your take on that?
Yep. So PadSplit again does not have deposits. A lot of the guys that I talk to that are operating off PadSplit, Miller, for example, up there in Colorado, and a few others, they do deposits. They use that in a couple of ways. One, it is a deposit. It lets them secure the property against with the individual coming through, and they'll do long-term leases, right? So unlike PadSplit, which is set for initially 12 weeks and then week by week afterwards. Others are trying to sign for 3, 6, 12 months, right? They'll do traditional lease deposit process. But that also gives him power to solve problems because he has someone's money. He can say, listen, if you move out early because you're a problem, I'll give you back your deposit. Just go here. You win. You're great. Fantastic guy. You can just leave, take your money, go somewhere else. You're not a fit for what we're trying to do here. Gives them some power there. So there is value in deposits. I had a post on this for PadSplit. It's pretty long and it's out there somewhere. I gotta find it again. Um, I have a challenge with the move-in fee. Now, I like move-in fees because I think that they function as helping you cover off on your cleaner that's going through the room, right? A lot of times you're not budgeting it. How do you budget? You don't know how frequently you're going to have move-ins, right?
Mm,
With Airbnb, you have a cleaning fee. So every time you have a cleaning, you know that you don't need to come out of pocket for the cleaning. They're paying for the cleaning fees. You don't need to worry about that in your numbers. For whatever reason, people have decided on a $0 move-in fee in many markets in Houston because everyone's trying to entice members. Oh, it's $0. You lower move-in cost for you to come in. We're gonna set it to $0. If you're new, you're not thinking about this, but you get someone in. Keep in mind, PadSplit collects two things. They do 8%, but they also take the first 10 days when someone moves in if they found somebody. And that's fair. Honestly, this is if you were renting an apartment or a house and an agent brought you the tenant, you're paying that agent the first month of rent to bring somebody in. Same thing with PadSplit. So they bring somebody in, they spent money on the marketing, they've got them there. First 10 days seems fair. But keep in mind, that's 10 days you're not collecting money. You add to that the cost of your cleaner for the turn, for the new mattress cover, any minor repairs that you have between tenants. If you didn't think about this in your head when you're running your numbers, if you didn't budget for it, if you're not expecting it, you as a new host are going to start doing things that you probably shouldn't do. Things like just flipping that mattress cover over so the clean side's up and the dirty side's down. It's still going to stink, but I've seen people do this. Let's just reuse it. Um, or let's just take off the mattress cover. No, I don't have the money for a new one. Fine, we'll go bare mattress. We'll raw dog it and see how that goes. And then it gets just it comes up, it gets damaged, right? You're gonna do things like not repair the room as frequently as you might. You're not having the money in to maybe repaint or do touch-ups or fix the closet door. As a new host without move-in fees, this can be a challenge, especially if you launch zero move-in fees, and you don't have the budget, and you didn't consider that the first third of that first month's income is gone. It's going to be a challenge. So I would wish, if I could make a magic wand, that yes, PadSplit's a competitive marketplace. Yes, but they should probably have a standard that a move-in fee needs to be a minimum of $75 to
mm.
cover off on the expenses that will that will help new hosts, they'll help current hosts with their expenses if they didn't budget for it. But it also makes it a better experience for the members when they move in because the homeowner had the money to do the stuff that they need to do anyway. If they don't have the money, they're going to cut back. It's going to be a problem overall. You're going to see degradation in service. So that's my view on it. It's a bit controversial, but I just don't think that we should be allowing a $0 move-in fee period.
Fair perspective. Totally get it. Now on the topic of cleanings, what do you find most cleaners charge to clean a room with a private bathroom versus just a room that doesn't have a bathroom?
Yep. So our cleaners are at $50 for a regular shared bath bedroom to go in there, plus $22 or so for the mattress cover, right? That we have. You buy them in bulk, they're cheaper. Sometimes they're on sale. It's great. But about $50 per room turn, about 65 for a room with a private bath. So they'll add a little bit more for that because they'll be spending more time scrubbing the shower, the toilet, and so forth to get it ready.
Yeah, and that's usually what I hear. It's kind of an industry standard, somewhere between 50 to $80. And then
Yep.
also cleaning the shared space. I found that the clean of the shared space is around 50 to $70, depending on the market.
Yep.
Um, There was a question about like pad split being only used in single family homes. Would it work on multifamily properties like a two-bedroom or three-bedroom unit? Yes, it can. In fact, also, not only are we seeing hosts using it for multifamily, but also if you own the lot, you can have like an RV that you can pad split. We're seeing motel conversions. We're seeing commercial to
Yep.
residential. There was someone who converted a warehouse, a storage warehouse into a pad split. So I think we're just kind of scratching the surface of what's possible with PadSplit. I think as time goes on, innovation and creativity from the host community is really going to begin to shine, and I'm excited to see where this goes. So, how often do you
To
have? Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
I'll just say to that point,
Yeah.
I've been doing rehabs. Most of my properties have been rehab properties. In fact, all of my current ones have. New builds are becoming a thing. And
Hmm.
great thing with new builds is you can design them to function perfectly. I have a lot of thoughts on that. But to trim this down, a lot of people are new building as single family rentals with there's a guy in Houston that's going to be launching, I think, 20 10-bed, 10-bath single family homes. Okay. 3 stories tall, 10-bed, 10-bath in there. Sounds great. Okay. My recommendation would be, instead of doing that, is to, on the same footprint, do a 5-bed, 5-bath per side duplex. Right.
Mm,
Now you're going to be giving up a little bit of space for another kitchen, but that's going to let you spread that out. It's going to be a better member experience. Large houses are great to hit your cash flow number. Smaller houses are great for the tenant experience, right? So trying to balance those two, small multifamily, if designed appropriately, um, gives you the best of both worlds. The tenant count you want on the lot that you're building and so forth. Plus, you can charge, there's a little bit of an upcharge. I have a home that is a 7-bedroom, 3-bath main home with a 2-bed, 2-bath ADU. And the ADU, because everyone has their own bath and they only have one other person they're dealing with, I'm able to charge another $20 a week for that amenity of having fewer people to deal with. Still the same
mm.
property, still the same footprint, but having that ADU element works out quite well.
Yeah, so definitely new construction is growing. I mean, here in Jacksonville, we just launched the 7 bedroom, 7 bathroom, which is huge for us because I know in Houston there is really no zoning. It truly is kind of the wild, wild west, and that's why it's been a little bit easier to see some of those new construction projects really advance. But in some of these other jurisdictions, we're a little bit tighter zoning. It's really awesome to see that this is a growing segment. But to your point, Dave, I think you have to think about the resident experience because you mentioned like the cash flow looks great on a 10 bedroom, 10 bathroom, especially when you're running those pro formas. It's one thing to look at spreadsheets. It's another whole thing to have the actual resident experience. And ultimately, the resident experience is what drives profitability. So
Yep.
just think with the end user in mind. Imagine if you were in their shoes, how would you feel living there? How often do you get cleaners to go clean the shared space?
How often? Was that the
Yeah,
question?
yeah, yeah.
Yep. So we recommend twice a month. We do it around the 1st and around the 15th, right? We always say around because we're balancing, you know, 45 homes, okay, or 55 homes, 55 homes. Yeah, that's the right number, 55 homes. So, things are being balanced, are being shifted around coming through, right? If the cleaner gets sick on Saturday, she can't get out there. We don't promise any house a specific date, but we do look to get it in there twice a month. A, to maintain the condition, and B, you're having people move in, and you don't want someone moving in on the 30th, and the last time someone had eyes on or cleaned the house was on the 1st, right? It's a bad experience when they move in. At least if they're there every other week, the likelihood that the house is still looking okay is pretty high, right? Certainly, most optimal would be a monthly cleaning. And if you were to, let's say, you had your own cleaning service and you're able to send somebody out there, that could be your killer hook. Like,
Hmm.
our houses are cleaned all the time because you have more cost effectiveness, right? But going down to once a month for maybe a smaller home, right, might work if you had fewer people there, if you're keeping that up with house rules. And the larger your home is, probably the more frequent you want to be cleaning, or at least you want to be ameliorating that with the rules.
Dave, there's
There
another good
was
question from Dr. Blandon. How do you like market to specific populations such as elders that are aging out of their old home care or aging out of rent and wanting to go somewhere else? I want to market to elders. However, I want individuals that are able to care for themselves with income. So I mean the premise of this question is really like how how do you target the marketing while still remaining in compliance with fair housing?
so with our target marketing, where we're targeting specific like job niches, like going after Uber drivers, that I can do because it's not a protected class. Age is a protected class. That becomes a real concerning and convoluted process, right? Um, you can do things marketing wise, like reach out to ancillary businesses or services, right? And make sure that they have your poster available. That's up there. Unless your home is itself registered, right, as a 55 plus neighbor. I'm not sure the exact process to do that. I know you can. You're going to have real challenges if you start telling people, oh, you're too young, you're not allowed to live here. That's not going to generally fly, just again, due to the fair housing rules. Um, Unless, again, you have it officially classified as 55 plus housing. whatever methodology you need to go through to do that. You could do things like put bars in all the bathrooms and highlight, oh, we have no stairs. It's a nice ramp, and really just make it so no one else would want to go there. It gives them the vibe without explicitly saying that. Let's say you want a women's only home. You're not allowed to do that. Someone was asking that earlier on my Facebook group. You can't just have a women's only. There's a guy that got in big trouble with that town away from me up in College Station that was trying to only allow women in there, was marketing it women only home.
Mm,
Again, you can't do it.
mm-mm.
Um, but you can do things like put dresses and mannequins on the walls or something to make other people uncomfortable.
I was going to say, you want to create a space that maybe attracts and markets to a certain demographic. Like fair housing doesn't tell you can't paint a room a light purple and put flowers all over it, right? It's probably going
Right.
to attract a certain demographic. So I think,
You can put a
really,
vanity in every bedroom with a makeup mirror and really just try
exactly.
to get to that. Right.
You got to think creatively in this business, and so do what you can to attract the target clientele that you're looking to house. So there was a question from Christian Arana. I hosted an area where it seems there was only one other PadSplit host. So this was actually in Lancaster, California, which is an emerging market. PadSplit wasn't able to bring a single member, but one out of the seven. The other six I had to do in my own marketing, but at least PadSplit is taking care of the membership fees, collections, and the 24/7 support. So yeah, I think, if you're outside of a core market, what you're going to find is that there's very limited marketing spend for now. And that's something that our emerging markets representative, Zach, is going to kind of help coach you and teach you on how you can actually create like your own marketing material through PadSplit's portal, how to use the referral link. There is a little bit of sweat equity involved, but it will pay for itself because you won't have that booking fee, as they'll go straight to the 8%. So there is an incentive there. Dave, do you have any PadSplits that are like out in emerging markets, or all yours in core markets?
All mine are in the core market right now as far as those I manage or own. Again, happy to work on emerging markets. Our team does do ancillary additional marketing, just as you're talking about for when we're in there. Same as like as mentioned, we're doing the Uber driver targeted marketing. Like we look for Facebook groups for Uber drivers and we message them, got a great house, here's the benefits, right?
Hmm.
So we have that. I'm working with again, from one of my masterminds, one of the guys is building out a more of an automated platform for additional marketing efforts, and we'll be rolling that out to people we're working with shortly. In that, there was a question where a gentleman was like, "What do you mean evictions? What are you talking about? Why is this a challenge? Aren't they members? And why is guests an issue?" All right, we run into this frequently. Once someone is in your home for 30 plus days, period, they are classified as a tenant. You cannot just kick them out. You can't go there, show up, grab their stuff, chuck it out the door. You will probably be arrested. You will be sued if the guy has any money. They are members, yes, but once they've been there for 30 days, they are a tenant. Same as if you invite your buddy over and he stays with you for 30 days and then you decide you hate him, he can claim tenant rights. Period. That's how it is. There is no, oh, I can just show up and throw them out, throw their stuff out the door whenever I want. That's not how it works. Um, if they're paying and they've paid you for the week, you can't show up and just chuck their stuff out. You have a financial responsibility. They've paid for a service. That is where they're at, unless you're able to point towards a rules violation and get them out.
Dave, what's your opinion on interior cameras?
Um, it vacillates. So we like exterior cameras. I talked about why, right? To make sure we see people, we can check on the grass, we can check on the trash, make sure it was taken out. Interior cameras, historically, we've installed them when there was a challenge. Someone stealing food. We're like, all right, guys, listen, we've told you what are you doing taking someone's food? We can't trust you. We're putting a camera in, at least for the duration, until we can solve and identify who's causing this issue. It's a great response mechanism. It does add operationally several challenges. Now, someone needs to be available to check the camera. Now, you've taken on the responsibility of that. They're going to be asking you questions, there's going to be inane things. I would love to have a camera system where we had a screen in there and people could look at it for themselves without having to bug you for it, right? Um, old school home ones where you have the VCR that records. You can just rewind, you can see it. It's probably digital now, right? You can see it. Would love to do that. After all, there is the expectation that common space is common. You should never be running around naked or something in common space. That's a common area. So why should you have a problem with a camera being up? Cameras are also very useful if you have a he said, she said situation. Oh, he was yelling at me. She was yelling at me. Blah, blah, blah. Well, look, we looked at the camera, and Bill, it looks like you approached Susan with a knife in your hand. And so she was scared. We know it doesn't look like you meant to. You just happen to be cutting butter or whatever, or not butter, bread or whatever. Either way, you're cutting something. We understand what's going on. We can solve the problem. It lets us in a problem solving. Otherwise, you're doing he said, she said situations. So, that said, as we expand and as we're operating, as we're trying to make sure we solve problems and really get to the root of things, interior cameras are becoming a stronger recommendation that we're putting into play. Um, but we're building out rules around when do we look at them, how frequently, what triggers the time allocation to something like that.
Cool. Thanks. There's a question from Justin. Do you help with acquisitions? So that's something that I could definitely assist you with. We do have a buy box that we recommend, just something to look at. Again, I think it's also ultimately like your responsibility as kind of the investor to understand your market. We can provide the general framework. But as we talked about working class areas and typically acquisitions less than 400,000, preferably less than 300,000, 350 all in costs. But there's a good question from Tidon, Dave, that I think I'd be good for you to take on. So utilities are killing us. What thermostat brand is the best for a 7 property portfolio? And should we lock the temperature at a specific range or an acceptable range? And any other advice to
Yep.
reduce reoccurring expenses?
Yep. So our standard thermostat that we recommend is the Sensi Lite. It's relatively cheap thermostat that has all of the functionality of the more expensive, well, not all, majority of the functionality of the more expensive brands. Um, it's great, goes in easy, nice to use interface online. Okay. Especially when you're dealing with a large portfolio, we're able to see all of our thermostats across the board. Having that thermostat Wi-Fi connected allows us to do a couple of things. We can tweak temperatures. We can turn on just heat, just cool, or set to a range. We can do a software lock. Um, However, there is a use case for when we go for a much more expensive brand. Okay. The Ecobee. The Ecobee is fantastic. The Ecobee um, can also have independent sensors that you can put in different rooms. If you end up with a room where the tenant there is constantly complaining, my room's hotter, my room's colder, you can put a sensor in that room. You can monitor that sensor independently. You can set your AC to work based off of what that sensor is saying. Okay, instead of the one that's with the thermostat. A lot of times your thermostats, especially if you're doing renovations, you don't consider this, will be in a hallway that won't necessarily reflect the condition of the rest of the home, right? Especially if you walled off all the vents and now the hallway doesn't have a vent because all the vents are in bedrooms and you didn't add another vent for that hallway. We see that quite often. And now that hallway is either extremely hot or extremely cold, does not reflect the bedrooms, right? You're pushing cold air in all the bedrooms constantly, but that hallway stays warm because there's no vent there to put cold air there. So it's just now everyone's complaining to you about how cold it is. If you don't want to move the thermostat, which is a huge pain, putting the remote sensor in a bedroom with the Ecobee, which is a couple $100, can solve that. And if you solve that problem, yes, it's more expensive, but it solves the move out issue, solves tenant comfort, and it works out. So Sensi is standard, but there is a use case for more expensive with remote. Eco BEE, ECO BEE.
Great, great. Let's see.
Okay,
Other
I will
questions I
let you
see?
know
Uh,
I am at 35% battery left on my laptop. We're good for another half hour.
All right. Well, we're knocking these out one question at a time. Do
Told
you
you I'm
see
not good
any?
at rapid fire.
How big is your team, Dave? You're managing 400 rooms. I mean, a couple questions on the team size.
Yep. So the core team, for better rooms, my Houston management company that has those 400 under management, is we have 5 owners. We have an owner that handles all the accounting. We have myself that works on sales, uh, tenant troubleshooting, manage clients, do the education services like this. We have a team member that handles all the legal stuff, right? She works on the evictions. She works on helping us with a questionnaire and so forth. We have our guy that manages the handyman elements. He helps vendors. He does a lot of the rehabs himself in the first point. And then the fifth member was brought in to kind of help wrangle us. He's like dad. Because sometimes we have disagreements. And when there was 4 of us, sometimes we would be there. But he also trains and brings in other support personnel. Okay. Um, he was the source of my VAs. That's how I'm able to now, through my relationship with there, build out the VA service.
Cool. So does PadSplit have ideas, recommendations, access to collateral to help get the rooms filled? This is a question from Corinne. Um, I'll just share a personal success story. So I had a room that was sitting vacant for quite some time, and on PadSplit's host dashboard, when you click on the property, there's like a promotion tab where you can create these little flyers. There was a mechanic shop right next to the street of my place. Went over there with the flyer, spoke to the manager, and he's like, "Hey man, like this is actually great because I got one of my guys who's staying at one of these weekly extended stay hotels, paying 280 a week. Your place is 160, and it's right next to it. So again, it took a little bit of my time to go out there, connect with them, but then it ended up turning into a future referral as well. I got a second person from that same owner of the mechanic shop. So it's not foolproof, but another thing that you can do is take those flyers and post them on like nearby bus stops. Obviously, that's a large demographic of members that use public transit. So that's kind of a good area to be able to market, but also any sort of like discount stores or discount grocery stores like Winn-Dixie or Aldi. You can maybe speak to them and see if they have like an area where you can post it up. But I don't know, Dave, any success that you've had with like self-marketing and self-sourcing?
All right. So again, yeah, this is where getting in the niches has helped. We had a client come on board in a newer market. No other house was there. It is still Houston, but well, Humble, Texas. It's right next to Houston. It hasn't been incorporated, but it's like if you looked at a map, you wouldn't think it was not part of Houston, right? Right by the airport. Perfect place for Uber drivers, right by the highway. Great. Lots of off-site parking. He launched slowly because it was a new market. That's where we decided let's try hyper target, hyper focus. We did that and we got him from nobody to I think we're at 5 or 7 members in the home right now in a couple of weeks. So additional marketing, trying to go for the niches. What do they say? The riches are in the niches.
Hmm.
Um, niching your marketing down versus trying to go broad scale is going to help you clarify your message and break through. So really just identify your home. If you're near a school, trying to go for the local, like look up, like if you're near U of H, University of Houston, I would be looking for University of H student Facebook groups or whatever. And be like, you guys looking for housing? Here's where we're at.
Dave, do you buy homes or have you done also arbitrage with PadSplit?
Episode 3 of the co-living operations YouTube series will be on arbitrage. So my partner that handles our rehabs owns one home but has 17 arbitrages.
Wow.
I have had as many as 4 arbitrages at one point in time. I own 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. I had 6. I sold one to a client of mine. I wanted to free up some money for the new build that I'm working on now. Um, so yes, we have arbitrage. Numbers are a bit different. With an arbitrage, you don't need to worry about a roof or a foundation. The homeowner is worrying about that. But that whole episode is going to take you through arbitrage, how that works. Look on YouTube, co-living, co-living operations, join it, flag it, bell it, whatever. You'll see that coming out here. Should be, what is today? Wednesday or Thursday? What is today?
It's
Wednesday?
Wednesday. Yeah.
Should be out Friday. My team member is going through editing it now.
So there's a question about trash. How do you get members to take out the trash regularly? Also, do you have each room have color-coded dishware, and do you provide utensils?
Okay. So trash. So we do a couple things with trash. Remind everybody when they're moving in, it's part of the questionnaire, it's part of our screening. Hey, you're living in a home. There are shared responsibilities. One of those is trash. If you don't take care of the trash, you're gonna get pests. You're gonna be upset. You're gonna be sad. You might get the black plague. It came from trash and vermin. Like, do you really want to get boils on your body? So take care of the trash, bring it out. We message everybody. We're creating automated messaging to do this as well. The day before trash day, guys, remember to take the trash out, reminding them get it done. We have the cameras exterior. We can check on that if that's a problem to make sure trash is taken care of. It's more cajoling, reminding people their responsibilities, reminding them this is what they signed up for, reminding them that we talked to them about it. They should be adults and take care of it, right? That's there. Corinne, yes, on YouTube. Co-living operations. If you look it up, you'll see it. You'll see the co-living operations logo.
Um, so there's a question: does single source insurance offer tenant member insurance? No, at this time we don't have like renters insurance available through single source. It is only for the host.
We do have a renters insurance recommendation. Lemonade does not do it. We thought they would.
Hmm.
Um, if you reach out to us, um, we can certainly provide that. I can't remember who it is offhand, but we do have a viable renters insurance. We bring that up on occasion on discussions, and we're going to be doing it more standard. In fact, Aya, you're on the call here. Aya is my primary VA. Make a note, please, for us to add to the standardized questionnaire a recommendation for renters insurance. Um, the reason why renters insurance would be great is if there's a flood of the home, hey, it's not our fault. We recommend you get renters insurance. What are you looking at us for? Your books got all ruined in the room or something. Like,
Hmm.
recommending that. That provides you with support. Otherwise, they tend to think that you owe them. We had someone whose car was parked in the driveway. It's great. The neighbor's tree fell on their car during a hurricane. They wanted to go after us. We're like, nope, that's not how this works. You didn't get renters insurance to cover your belongings on property. You can go to the neighbor. You just walk next door and talk to him. But in the great state of Texas, at least, uh, as long as the neighbor was taking care of the tree and it wasn't obviously a problem, a tree falling down across property lines is not their fault either.
There's a really good question here from Todd I'd like to take on. How do you screen those who lie about hosting another person in the same room? I've been seeing kind of an uptick of where initially they come in as a single occupant and then they come to find out they have a girlfriend or someone else that's coming in. I'm sure Dave, in all the rooms that you've managed, you've dealt with that. Talk to us about like what is your SOP for that?
I've never actually had that problem. I don't know what you're talking about. Next question. Um, so it happens all the time, all the time. It's why you have cameras. All right.
Yeah.
When someone moves in, you record them, you can send it, you can capture it, you can send it to them. Listen, the rules break here. Again, remember the point I said about if someone's there for 30 days or more, then they're a tenant. If someone's going to break a rule as egregious as bringing a guest over, they're probably doing it pretty quickly, like right away, right? That means you can get them out. That means you can cancel it. You tell them, make sure that you have a no trespassing affidavit that needs to be posted. Oh, okay. That needs to be posted in the home, right? A no trespassing affidavit. You can then cancel them, let them know, hey, your membership's been terminated for breaking the rules. Again, we went over the rules with you. You signed the questionnaire. It's here. You knew the rules. No guest. You're terminated. If you don't leave within the next 24 hours, we will have you trespassed off the property. Something like that can work out. Challenge that PadSplit has is someone that shows up with a kid. That can be a real hassle because again, protected class. They show up, oh, I'm one person with a kid. All right. We didn't approve of this. You didn't tell us this. You can try to find other violations to apply. But you can't necessarily just kick them out because they showed up with a kid, unfortunately. Um, We have seen people show up with a kid and then they leave the house and they're like, well, there's another adult in the house. The kid can stay there. No, no, you're the authorized adult for the child. Now you're creating an unsafe condition and now we can have you removed. Comes through. So setting clear boundaries, informing of clear boundaries, and being quick with your response. That's how that plays out.
Yeah, I think swift responses, not letting things slide, really enforcing those rules is going to be critical to just the overall long-term success. There's a question from Tom. What has changed over the last 5 to 6 months with PadSplit and best practices since you've grown? I'm sure you've improved on things. Thank you. I'm actually just going to share my screen to help answer and illustrate some changes. You know, we have seen a reduction in the eviction rate. So this is a graph that was recently shared by our GM team. This kind of blue line shows the occupied rooms as they've been growing over the last 2 years coming up on, and this black line just shows the eviction rate across the all the rooms on listed on PadSplit. So it has been steadily declining. It's kind of stabilized right just shy of like between 1.25 and 1.5%. I mean, a lot of this is attributed to better fraud detection systems, improved marketing. We've really been refining the marketing strategy to where now we're um, really honing in on, our expertise. So I know this is kind of hard to see, so I'm going to see if I can. Oh, wow, I really did zoom in there quite a bit. But like back in Q4 of 2024, it took on average about 55 days to reach 100% occupancy. When we look at Q3 data, that's dropped down quite a bit. And I know sometimes it may not feel like it, but when we look at the aggregate data as a whole, we're seeing just about a month to that 80% fill time. So I'd say where we've gotten really good over the last 5 to 6 months has been on the marketing, but I think there's always room for improvement. We're always hungry. We're always gathering feedback. As Dave has mentioned, the screenings is an area that we've heard feedback on, could use some improvement. And also the mobile app. Fortunately, I did hear just as of today in the all hands call that that's a big priority going into 2026 is improving the overall host mobile app and the usability and different functionality of it. Because as of today, right now, it's very limited to just communication and accepting or declining booking requests, which it doesn't meet the needs of our property managers and our hosts. So we're definitely prioritizing that going into 2026. So it's really exciting to hear that.
And
But Dave, maybe from your perspective, have you seen any improvements? What's been good? What's been so like as a big vendor using
so
PadSplit?
they started adding like just more selections for amenities that you can go through and select. You can select what kind of air conditioning you have, window unit, so forth, a couple more things. Again, some of the things I would love to see would be, yeah, I want to upgrade, like upgrade options built into it. Like here's a flat fee for 150 that gets them interested. Oh, let's upgrade the TV, add a TV and so forth. Um, you know, I think I, it's probably corresponding just with the seasonality, but occupancy has been dipping. So wanting to see just honestly that's what's been happening. Occupancy's been going down. Love to see
Mm,
more marketing dollars spent in there, getting them in quicker. We're having to be more creative with trying to get people in and keep them in. Um, Again, that's why we came up with the idea of let's start collecting data on people that are in the home that we like, and if they do move out, reach back out to them again 30 days later. Things like
yeah.
that to keep them coming, keep them
Another
occupied.
thing as well here at PassBook, we see member referrals. So we've really invested heavily on the member referrals program because before it used to be where even as a host, if you use that promo code and you like referred someone, but let's say they go book someone else's property, you didn't get anything out of it. So now, as long as they use that link that PassBook provides you with, if they book your room, we'll waive the booking fee. If they book someone else's room, you'll get $250 credit added to your earnings statement for that month. So the member referrals piece has been something that we've been really pushing heavily on the member side as well. So not necessarily something that you would see as a host, but very active marketing in that regard to hopefully, get their friends and their coworkers and then people in their circle to use PadSplit as well. All right. Well, we're gone well over time. I know there's still a few more questions here. Dave, do you see any that you want to take on?
There's one question. Great webinar. Thank you. You're welcome. Um, do we get nurses staying in places? We have. The nursing market has declined quite a bit. You've seen a lot of people that have been doing midterm rentals across the board complaining that they're having a harder time uh, filling up their homes. Just with COVID having gone down, honestly, like there's been less of a need for traveling nurses. It was a flash effect that we're just not seeing as much in need of. The hospitals been adjusting budgets. They're finding it cheaper to not pay the higher traveling nurse allocation, instead hire people locally. So we're seeing that declining. We have had people, it's just not as many as you might think. Even when you buy near a hospital, there's just not always the actual need for that.
Cool. There is a question
Twin
from Eric.
beds. Twin
Go ahead.
beds are for convicts. Okay. Someone sees a twin bed, they don't stay long.
Yeah.
They don't. Full size bed is a recommended size. Queen, again, can cause challenges. We're trying to design around it. Definitely not a king. I've seen people put king size beds in there. You're asking for trouble with a king size bed. You're literally begging for it. You're begging for a problem. There was someone that was saying, "Hey, we charge extra." Like PadSplit does allow couples. You can set higher rates for somebody to come in for couples to come in. A lot of considerations with couples. I don't know how you are with your wife, Emmanuel, when you guys were boyfriend girlfriend. We've been with other girlfriends. Me and my wife, we're both hot. We're both firstborns. We're hot headed. We fight. When my wife decides she hates somebody, I hate that person. Couples are a nexus of emotion, both good and bad. You can have great emotions at 2 o'clock at night, which then disturbs the house. Great emotions, right? If you know where I'm going with this. Um, you can have bad emotions. You can have, again, someone ganging up on somebody. Couples sounds great in theory. It sounds great in more with more revenue potential. They bring a host of challenges. Um, Again, I won't say no. If I'm managing a house and someone wants to have those, we will manage the challenges. Just know that they do bring more challenges.
Yeah, they do. I'd say if you're going to go with the king mattress, have it be in your largest room. And if you're going to go with couples, preferably one that has a private ensuite bathroom. And that will help potentially minimize it, but just don't do more than, let's say, more than one room, because it's just going to be a recipe for disaster.
Okay.
What niches are you most excited about in 2026?
So I'm liking, again, the Uber drivers are fantastic. The long haul truck drivers are great. One of my houses, I at one time had 3 long haul truck drivers in an 8 bedroom home. That
Nice.
home acted like a 5 bedroom property. The utilities were lower. I'm still collecting the money because they're
Mm.
gone. It was awesome. Within that. Students are iffy within that. Um, with the new builds, I'm building a 5 bed 5 bath per side duplex, so trying to go upscale, providing that those are being designed primarily for work from home individuals. We're building the house with Ethernet lines in the wall in a server room, um, so that I can have my internet in one spot and everyone's going to have fast internet right to their desk, because a lot of people that are working from home, this is a great niche. A lot of them require wired connections. Their job requires a wired connection. Their work computers won't work. They need that. So with my build, I'm building that in. Otherwise, you end up with them stringing wire throughout the house or requesting you to tack it up. Comes through. Okay. I'm liking those. I'm not looking for the 55. A lot of people like the 55 age bracket. Some of our most grumpy guests are in that age bracket.
Mm.
Come through. There are my one of my partners is a vet. He likes vet housing. That's plenty fantastic. So that's a good niche. They tend to be more respectful. Miller, again, up in Colorado, most of his properties are around a military base. And the cool thing there is you can go ahead, you can get their commander's phone number. And if they are a problem, you can give the commander a call. Be like, hey, Billy's not paying his rent. And they'll make him do push-ups or something. Gets taken care of.
But on that point, I have personally one property that's next to the naval base here in Jacksonville, and I've already had now three active military service members, and they've by far been like the best residents that I've had. Just very orderly, very clean. And you know, when you do have a potential issue, I've also found it helpful to like reach out to the emergency contact. I had a resident who was kind of falling behind and called the emergency contact, ended up being his mom. She kind of helped him initially, but eventually wasn't able to get back on track. So he ended up moving out and moving back in with her. But the emergency contact is helpful as kind of a second resort if they're not answering, if they're not responsive.
I do have two other niches now to think about it. One, we had this would be the young adult whose parents don't want him in the house anymore. I'd want to find a way of targeting that, right? Where the parents will be the ones paying the bill. They'll probably be more
Mm.
stable, gets the boy out of the home. Want to find a way of marketing that. I can imagine the ad in my head. Like, you came home and he didn't take out the trash yet. Get rid of him. Send him to Dave's co-living. We'll warehouse your kid. Or kid warehousing. That'd be cool.
Kid
Like every
wares.
room comes with an Xbox, whatever. Um, or honestly, divorcees is another one. So there is a type of a location that we don't generally recommend. A highly residential area where there is no immediate workforce location, right? Um, you'll see these. You look at the map, you'll see cul-de-sac, house, for like miles, right? And then eventually there's a highway with the jobs. Those areas would work for people going through divorce. They're going through separation, right? They generally might be making decent money. They don't know how long they're going to be going through this process. They don't want to sign a year-long lease. They don't know, maybe they reconcile. They don't want to be stuck with something. But they also want to be near family, near their kids, near their kids' sports and activities, their school as well, and not half an hour away or something, um, in another property or an apartment complex, which would be farther away. So for divorcees, I've talked about this. We're working this through. I'm trying to find ways to get a hold of divorce attorneys, marriage counselors, and market through that.
Mm.
That's a good one.
Anyone in the here who's attending wants to come off mute and maybe ask their question or join in on the conversation. If you're interested, feel free to raise your hand or mention it in the chat. Let us know if you're interested in coming off mute and asking a question. We'll bring you on to the stage here. Does PadSplit ask for members or for emergency contacts, or is that up to the host? So yeah, this was actually an update. I want to say it was like sometime last year where we started requiring an
Yep.
emergency contact, and then actually shows up on the member's profile. So you're going to be able to
Yep.
view that.
That's proven invaluable. So over the last 4 or 5 years, I've had 4 deaths. So having the
Wow.
emergency contact has been very useful to get a hold of
Yeah.
somebody.
We got a couple people who are interested in coming on. Felicia, I saw you were the first to raise your hand. Thank you for volunteering to come up. You're on the floor and feel free to unmute and ask a question.
Hi, Dave.
Hello.
How are you? Thank you so much for doing this for us. And
No problem.
my question, and we were on a webinar earlier today, and I was talking about PadSplit to them, and everybody sort of like jumped on me about the zoning and safety rules for a particular area, especially if you have 5, 6, 7, 8 people in a particular home. How do you handle um, that type of situation where you have a lot of people in the house and everything can be grandfathered, but fire safety cannot. I've
Yep.
managed large apartment buildings and I know what I have to do there. Would it be the same as managing a large apartment building, having that type of systems in?
Okay. So in general, co-living properties are treated as single-family homes. There's no requirement to have sprinkler systems added to them. They are not boarding homes. You are not providing an additional service. One reason why PadSplit doesn't provide things like bedding is that would start to classify it as like a hotel. You're starting to provide additional amenities and sheets. Like it's weird the way the Georgia law is written. That's why he does it. They never did. Um, so this idea of zoning, you know, the homes are being confused with rooming homes or boarding homes or service homes. They're not. That's a guy with some roommates. Um, that said, PadSplit does, and you would want to have in the home, they do require a fire extinguisher be clearly marked and be up to date, right? As part of your onboarding process. Um, there's also these things are called fire stops. We put them on the hood or the microwave over the range that goes off, just like in a kitchen area in a restaurant, like and it's all shattery, like you see in like the John Wick movies, right? It goes through and it puts the fire out. So that's useful fire safety. In every room, you put in your smoke detectors, interconnected so that they annoy more than the one person and the one person can't deal with it. That way, if they smoke in their room, it goes off. There are rules: no smoking of any kind, including vaping in the home, no incense, no candles, no smoking, no space heaters. Someone trips the breaker because of a space heater. Oh, well, we'll be there tomorrow. Sorry, your room doesn't have power. Don't use a space heater. Space heaters are one of the number one problems or causes of fires and homes burning down in the United States. So I'd say to your friends there, Felicia, that they don't always know what they're talking about. A lot of people don't always. They tend to conflate things within that. Now, that said, different jurisdictions will have different things. They might have occupancy rules, right? No more than 3 to 4 to 5 people. PadSplit's been going and fighting with lawsuits against these occupancy restrictions. A lot of times they're archaic. They don't actually, do what they think they're supposed to do, or they're actually designed to do things that you don't want them to do. Like in Georgia or some parts of Georgia, it's like um, up to 3 unrelated people are allowed to live in the home or unlimited personal servants. So the issue with that wasn't necessarily let's not have too many people here. It was to keep certain types of people out of the property.
Okay.
Is what that was for. So they're fighting those. They're pushing back against those in different areas. The membership agreement that PadSplit uses is an attempt to do like an end run around rules like that, where you can say, listen, I only have one tenant. I only have one lease. Look, it's PadSplit. It's a corporate lease. Now everyone that's in that home is a member and they're related by business. You didn't define what related means in your rules.
And I'll just add on to here, everything PadSplit does is in compliance with federal housing and urban development guidelines. We've
Yep.
become so fractured as a society to where now different jurisdictions have their own definition of what a family should be. When in
Right.
reality, as we saw at the beginning of this presentation, are the largest and fastest growing demographic are single male residents that are childless. And yet these individuals are the ones that are most likely to be priced out of traditional rentals. And they are also likely not going to qualify for publicly funded housing because public housing is really catered towards single parents or families that are in need of affordable housing. And I always, we do have the strategies and the legal systems in place to be able to establish that association among the residents, but I'd encourage you to ask yourself if you believe that the people who work and serve in our community should at least have access to live in our community. And if the answer to that is yes, then PadSplit is really that investment vehicle or that vehicle to be able to invest in that belief. The change in the code and the antiquated zoning registration, that's going to change with time. But for the time being, we do have a proven strategy that really allows people to be able to serve those in their community, but also, make a profit out of it. So thank you for the question, Felicia. I appreciate you coming on. And thanks for the question there.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got Ty, who's also interested in asking a question. So Ty, I'm going to bring you up here to the floor. Ty, you should now be able to unmute and ask your question.
Thank you. Yes, it showed up. Yeah, appreciate that. I got a couple of questions for you, Dave, relating to what you post in there, because you talked about house rules, and I imagine you talk to them, communicate it up front, but is there, like, you post them in the kitchen or the entryway? You also mentioned posting a no guest at the door. I like these posting ideas. And then finally, you mentioned posting a affidavit for trespassing. And is that something that you post with the sign, or is that something? How does that work? So the
Yep.
general rules, like no guests, no smoking. What do you do as far as posting those? And then specifically about the no trespassing and no guests. How do you post that?
Yep. So we have different signs that we use in the kitchen. Honestly, we have like this nice little country home looking design you can get on Amazon. If I don't have it on my website, we'll be adding it shortly, a whole section on signage. It's just like kitchen rules: pick up after yourself, don't leave a mess, just reminders, right? For certain things there. So we can point to the sign later. Hey, it's signage, it's here. PadSplit has basic signage. You can go to the website, you can print it off and laminate it and stick it. It looks horrendous. It does its job, it stands out, but that's the problem. It stands out. It makes your house look not like a home, but more like a corporate office. Just the designs that they have. Like they have like a hand, stop what you're doing, and it's in bright red and it looks all crazy. We have laundry rules. There's a sign: pick up the laundry, don't leave a mess in laundry. Your stuff must be removed from the laundry machine within an hour of the dryer going off. We'd let people know, listen, if you leave your stuff in the dryer for too long, you should expect someone's going to move your stuff. I'm sorry you don't want someone touching your clothes. You shouldn't put your clothes in the dryer and then head off to work for 8 hours. That's just how it works. We have it in the question in the onboarding. We talk to them, go through some rules and guidelines. We're working on a series of just first 5 days. Hey, welcome to the home. Hope you're doing great. Let us know how you're feeling. By the way, rule reminder, boom, boom, boom. It's also posted in PadSplit. Okay. Things around the trespass affidavit. Now, trespass affidavit in Houston, and this might vary some places, having just a no trespassing sign does not work in the interior of a home. Cops will show up. They'll be like, hey, what do you got? Oh, that doesn't count. A no trespassing affidavit is a signed and notarized statement by you as the homeowner or the property manager, legally stating no trespassing allowed. And you get the notarized, we put that on the wall. That might differ in some jurisdictions. We work with clients on a case-by-case basis, but sometimes if it's not there, the cops show up like, hey, sorry, no trespass. I can't trespass him. It sometimes is required for the cops to be able to help you out.
So do you submit that to the cops, or do you just post it and that's sufficient?
That's posted on the wall. We get them notarized. We get a couple of copies. We put it on the wall. We laminate it. It goes on the wall. We take a photo of it being there, with something that's identifiable to the home, right? So you can tell it, hey, that was from the house. Generally, the trespass affidavit has the home address in it as well. So that's there. If that ever disappears, we have more copies of it. They'll be in the home, generally in our supply closet that we have in every home, which has backup like air filters, mattress covers, stuff like that. So you don't need to be moving them all the time.
That's good.
But that'll be there. But it's also on our phone. So if I have a cop show up for some reason and I want to be like, I can send that to a house member and be like, hey, just show the cops this, tell them it was there, somehow it disappeared, and they'll generally still work with you on that. But yeah, I can see it was clearly posted here. We can take care of it.
You mentioned that you wish you had a camera system that allowed the members to actually look, the tenants to look it up, to observe. Now, I've used a system that has, like an online thing. Can you give the tenants the access with the password to have them be able to look it up just on their own little computers?
So the problem with a lot of these camera systems is, I mean, I've got 55 homes and they're all under one login so that my team members can go and they can view them, because we're not going to log out, log in, log out, log in, log out, log in, right? And I'm not going to give someone in the home access to see every home in the portfolio, right?
Okay. So
it's generally a challenge there.
So, but you could do it with each individual home. If I wanted to do with a home, I could put up 5 cameras
Correct.
and give them the say, okay, this is how you
You
look up.
could.
You see if your housemate is doing something weird.
You could in theory. I haven't found one that I find secure enough that I like it because like once you get access, you can change settings and things.
Oh yeah.
I haven't found them when it's like viewer only,
Mhm.
but always looking.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for your big feedback. Thanks for the guidance.
No problem.
Thanks for speaking up and asking the question, Ty. Appreciate that. There's a good question from Mike Carter. Dave, what are your thoughts on any hangout space in the house? I have my first PadSplit with only a kitchen and 3 baths and an outside patio. So very limited shared space. What are the pros, cons? What do you think?
Okay. Can we call this the last question?
The last question. Yep, this is going to
I
wrap everything
really
up.
gotta go to the bathroom. All right, now it's gonna be memorialized. Okay, so I have a client bought a home, 10 bed, 4 bath. Okay, now she was a student of another guru that's out there in co-living. Right, doesn't do PadSplit, but it's another guru, and he loves common space. He thinks common space breeds community, gives people a place to hang out. When she bought this home from another person that had been operating it as a PadSplit property, she decided that she wanted to add common area. She had us remove one of the bedrooms, okay, and turn that bedroom into a living room area. In that living room area, we put in a couch, despite my recommendation, put in a nice green wall of fake looking like leaves on there, a coffee maker, a big Keurig, not my standard recommended Keurig, but like a big one, and some lights and things. For the first 5 months, that living room was never used. The Keurig machine was never used. The K cups were never moved. She got rid of $700 a month for a common space that nobody ever used.
Oh, drives me crazy.
Then somebody came into the house and they started using it to store their shit. So now I come in there and there's boxes. People are complaining like someone's keeping all their stuff in the house. Just a bunch of stuff. And then we show up later and someone's moved the couch out of the way and put in a weight bench in this common space. And the floor is all dinged up and beat from him dropping the weights. And the woman's losing money because she got rid of the money-making area. Okay, now I understand. There's this idea of boutique, of building a house for community, and there is a case to be made. If you are living in the home, okay, if it's your house hacking and you're there and you're a developed community, you're there every day, you're there reinforcing and enforcing community, and that's your thing. You love yoga. You got like 75 pairs of yoga pants, and they're all there, and you just got
Speaking
all
my
the
language, Dave.
mats,
You're getting me
right?
excited, man.
You're all excited, right? Maybe you can make a yoga house and you're enforcing it and it's there and you're keeping that culture alive. But if you move away, you know, a tenant, that culture degrades, right? Organic culture happens. We had a house with 3 cooks from 3 different restaurants in there, and that house was awesome. It smelled better than anything else because they would all cook together. It was great. I loved it. I would show up and I'd load up a plate and I'd take off. I'd stop by the house all the time for maintenance checks. Because they give me food. It's great, but you can't design it. They just want to come home, cook, go to the room, eat their meal, go to bed, wake up, do it again, go hang out, save money by living here so they can do other stuff. The average affordable housing person is not looking for that common space. Meanwhile, you want the common space to be money-making areas. Convert it. Get the money so you have the money to give them what they want. What do they want? A clean house. Someone was asking earlier who cleans. You pay for the cleaning. You're paying for all utilities. You're paying for the cleaners. You're paying for the handyman. You're paying for the landscaper. You're paying for everything. They're paying one bill in a PadSplit property for everything else, generally because they're financially irresponsible and they couldn't handle that many bills in the first place. So that's why they're doing it. They want you to have the money to get things fixed. Again, why I brought up $0 move-in fee is BS, and it should be at least $75 so that people don't fall in a trap. but the market is demanding it. I can't rent out a room with a move-in fee of even $50 in Houston because everybody else is setting a $0 move-in fee. Nothing good happens on couches.
I think that's a great way to close out the webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Edwards, great job, man. Thank you. The webinar.
CoLivingOperations.com, CoLiving
Yes.
Operations, the Facebook group, CoLiving Operations, the YouTube group, CoLiving Operations, the school.
Yes. Co-living
Baseballs 2 is
operations.
coming out.
There you go. A lot is coming. Awesome to have you, man. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your expertise. You know where to reach him. He's the man, the myth, the legend, the co-living operations king, some may call him. I'm just a simple PadSplit guy. So if you're interested in PadSplit, reach out to me. If you're interested in more about operations, reach out to Dave. Next month, so for those who've stuck around and have stayed on, next month we're going to be having Jonah from the Co-Living Investor Hub. Dave, I think you know Jonah. He is really
Very
developing.
much. He's posting on my group all the time. We talk quite frequently.
He's freaking awesome. Yeah. So there you go. You have a testament from the legend himself. But Jonah's going to be hopping on. He's developed a software that's really all about deal flow for co-living properties. And it's really cool because it breaks down all the analysis once you're subscribed. And it's, you know, an automated system that is top notch. So we're very fortunate to have him next month. Again, third Wednesday of every month. If you've already registered for this one, you'll get an invite. Be sure to join that one. And otherwise, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Enjoy the holidays, and we'll see each other again in December. Thank you, Dave. Take care, guys.
Bye.